Most people believe relationship conflict is about love, communication, or compatibility. But often, it's about something far less romantic. It's about power. Power struggles don't begin with shouting or ultimatums. They begin quietly, in small moments where two people are deciding, sometimes unconsciously, who gets to lead, who gets to define reality, and who gets to feel safe. By the end of this, you'll understand why power struggles happen even in loving relationships, what is actually happening in the brain during these clashes, and how subtle competition slowly replaces intimacy without either person noticing. At its core, a power struggle is not about winning an argument, it's about protecting identity. Human beings are wired to maintain a sense of control over their environment. Control equals predictability. Predictability equals safety. When a partner challenges our opinion, our decision, or even our tone, the brain doesn't just hear disagreement, it hears potential loss of status. The brain interprets loss of status as a threat. Studies in social neuroscience show that social rejection and status threats activate the same pain circuits as physical injury. The moment your partner says you're wrong, your nervous system may respond as if something much larger is at stake. This is why minor disagreements escalate so quickly. Think about the last argument you had. Was it really about the dishes, the schedule, or the tone of voice? Or was it about feeling dismissed, unheard, or controlled? Power struggles often begin during the transition from romantic idealization to reality. Early in relationships, people naturally accommodate each other. There's flexibility. But over time, individuality resurfaces, preferences harden, boundaries appear. This is normal, yet many couples interpret this stage as incompatibility when it is actually the negotiation of power. In psychology, power in relationships isn't just dominance, it's influence. Who decides how money is spent? Who sets the emotional tone? Who apologizes first? These patterns form quietly, and once established, they are difficult to shift without resistance. Here's the darker truth. Many power struggles are fueled by fear, not cruelty. Fear of being insignificant, fear of being dependent, fear of losing autonomy. When someone insists on being right, they may not be trying to control you. They may be trying to avoid feeling small. When someone withdraws during conflict, they may not be punishing you. They may be protecting themselves from overwhelm. But fear rarely looks like fear. It looks like stubbornness. It looks like sarcasm. It looks like silence. This is where the brain plays a powerful role. During conflict, the amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, becomes highly active. Blood flow shifts away from areas responsible for empathy and long-term thinking. The body prepares for defense. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, the mind narrows. In that state, connection becomes secondary, survival becomes primary. Have you ever noticed how arguments repeat themselves almost word for word? That's because once the brain associates a partner with threat, it anticipates danger before it even exists. The nervous system reacts to tone, posture, or facial expression before logic can intervene. Over time, this creates a subtle shift. Instead of seeing your partner as an ally, you begin to see them as an opponent. And once relationships become competitive, intimacy declines. There is another layer most people miss. Power struggles are often inherited. The models we observed growing up shape our expectations of how influence works. If love looked like control in your childhood home, you may unconsciously equate dominance with security. If conflict meant distance, you may use distance as protection. We don't enter relationships empty, we bring blueprints. Consider this question carefully. When you feel challenged by your partner, what feels most threatened? Your opinion or your sense of worth? The need to win often masks a deeper vulnerability, And ironically, the more one partner pushes for control, the other resists. This creates what psychologists call a demand-withdrawal pattern. One partner pursues, the other distances. Both feel powerless. Both feel misunderstood. In heterosexual relationship research conducted by the Gottman Institute, one of the strongest predictors of long-term dissatisfaction is not conflict itself, but contempt. Contempt emerges when power struggles become chronic and one partner begins to feel superior. Superiority is intoxicating at first. It provides temporary security, but it erodes trust. When one person consistently positions themselves as more rational, more responsible, or more emotionally intelligent, the relationship becomes hierarchical instead of collaborative. And humans are highly sensitive to hierarchy in intimate bonds. There's a surprising insight here. The partner who appears more dominant in a power struggle is often the one who feels less secure internally. Dominance can function as armor. Control becomes a shield against abandonment. On the other side, chronic compliance can also be a power strategy. Agreeing quickly, avoiding disagreement, or over-accommodating can be a way to maintain stability, but suppressed resentment doesn't disappear. It accumulates quietly and eventually resurfaces in passive resistance or emotional withdrawal. So the struggle continues, just in a different form. Power is not inherently negative. Healthy relationships require influence to flow in both directions. The problem arises when power becomes rigid. When flexibility disappears, intimacy suffocates. Ask yourself this: in your closest relationship, do you feel safe disagreeing, or does disagreement feel dangerous? Safety is the antidote to power struggles. When partners trust that conflict will not threaten the bond, the nervous system relaxes, the prefrontal cortex re-engages, curiosity replaces defensiveness. But safety requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like surrender to someone who equates surrender with loss. This is why many couples get stuck. Each person waits for the other to soften first. Each interprets the other's defensiveness as hostility, and neither wants to be the one to yield. Yet yielding is not losing. It is choosing connection over ego. There is a subtle but powerful shift that changes the entire dynamic. Instead of asking, "How do I win this?" ask, "What is my partner protecting right now?" That single question activates empathy. It interrupts the threat response. It transforms the interaction from competition to investigation. When people feel understood, their need to control decreases. When they feel respected, rigidity softens. It's also important to understand that equality in relationships does not mean sameness. Partners can have different strengths, different personalities, and different levels of assertiveness. The goal is not identical behavior. The goal is balanced influence. Balanced influence means decisions are negotiated, not imposed. Emotions are validated, not minimized. Disagreement is explored, not punished. Notice how different that feels from most arguments. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Some people unconsciously recreate power struggles because intensity feels familiar. Calm relationships can feel boring to a nervous system conditioned to equate chaos with love. In those cases, the struggle itself becomes a source of stimulation. If peace feels unfamiliar, it can even feel unsafe. Breaking this cycle requires awareness. Awareness of your triggers, awareness of your inherited patterns, awareness of how quickly your body shifts into defense mode. When you feel that shift, pause, not to suppress your perspective, but to regulate your nervous system. Slow breathing, lower tone, eye contact. These small physiological adjustments send signals of safety to both brains involved. Conflict handled calmly does not weaken attraction, it strengthens trust. Ultimately, power struggles are not proof that a relationship is failing. They are evidence that two identities are trying to coexist. The danger lies not in disagreement, but in allowing ego to replace empathy. When connection becomes more important than control, the dynamic changes. You stop trying to dominate the narrative, you start trying to understand it. The dark truth about relationship power struggles is this: they are rarely about the surface issue. They are about fear of losing significance, autonomy, or safety. And until those fears are acknowledged, the arguments will continue in different disguises. Imagine what would shift if, instead of defending your position, you defended the bond. Healthy power is shared. It flows back and forth. It allows both partners to feel strong without making the other feel small. If this resonates, take a moment to reflect on your own patterns. Where do you grip tightly? Where do you give away too much? Awareness is the first shift towards balance. And if you found insight here, consider sharing your thoughts below. Conversations about power and vulnerability are rarely easy, but they are necessary. The more we understand the psychology beneath our conflicts, the more intentionally we can choose connection over control.